This is a demonstration of a Yale Type G time lock made in 1889, and it is mounted within a salesman sample case. So what you have here is the time lock itself and a Yale No. 2 bolt motor and a mounting here which would normally be on the inside of a safe door, and two bolts here and here, which when the bolt motor is activated would then be retracted from here for the opening of the safe, and then shot back on this side for the closing of the safe as a demonstration. And that bolt motor would be wound through this little wheel here, and that would be done through the use of this handle which is mounted to the case. And the handle has a set of prongs that fit right into this and will allow you to wind the bolt motor spring. I have now removed the cover plate here for the bolt motor, and one can now see the internal workings of that bolt motor. Now, normally one would use this key with these prongs here, which would fit into, as you can see, this mating slot like so. I'm a little bit hard to get to because it's on the other side, but it should fit through this side here, and as you can see, it does fit. Right now the time lock is almost at zero, even though the movements are running, but it's almost at zero. So one cannot try and set this because it is in the off guard position. The other thing that I wanted to note before I wind this is this little stop flag here. It serves a very similar function to the stop flag in the Yale Type D and E, and what it does is it prevents overwinding. Right now I have this set to 16 hours, so if you are closing up at 5 o'clock and you want the time lock to remain on guard until 9 a.m., you then can wind this just to this stop and you will never overwind the time lock. This is critical because both of these movements are wound through this central key. So unlike a 3-movement time lock with independent modular movements, if you accidentally overwind one or two, the third one, if correctly wound to the right time, will have the safe open at the correct time. Here you don't have that choice, so this stop flag is very important. So now we wind this up a little bit, and I'm going to wind it just enough so that we can actually put the lock on guard. And so once the time lock has been wound to where you want it to be, you would then crank this counterclockwise, and this lever here would engage this and cause it to lock. Now, I am not going to actually wind this spring because it's very powerful, and I have no intention of having it throw the bolts with a terrific force within this wood salesman sample case, because it is a fairly fragile and it's over 125 years old. So I'm going to simulate that by just simply raising this by my finger. And now this has engaged the time lock's drop bolt here, and normally then this would be again, rotated counterclockwise and caught here. Now, when it comes time for the time lock to go off guard, this goes to 0 and then pushes this out of the way. I'll just do it with my finger. And then this comes down. This would then pull backward. This would then be released and would very quickly turn clockwise and throw the bolts. And that ends the demonstration. And I will now close the salesman sample case so that you can see it. Here is the very fancy carrying handle. Now this is so heavy that you really couldn't carry it by this little handle. That was more of a decoration than anything else. And you can see, if you pull back a little bit, the case in toto, and it has a fairly large crack here, which structurally makes it a little bit more fragile than I would like.